All right, all right, all right. Welcome back, my regular viewers, listeners, and watchers. And of course, if you happen to be here for the very first time, welcome. Before I go any further, my name is Rahul George, India's premier iHypnosis life healer coach and your personal guide. And of course, for all of you out there, regular viewers, listeners, and watchers of the iHypnosis life coaching journeys, you know that this is a podcast that has been curated for you, where we make it a point to literally scan the length and the breadth of our country and sometimes even beyond, and bring in some truly, truly, truly amazing guests, people who are already on this journey of healing and coaching. And these are people who have not just begun the self healing, the self growth, the self development journey, but they've gone beyond that, and now they're at a point where they know that they have a mission, they know that they have a purpose, and they are living this more and more each day. And so I have a really, really amazing guest who is in our midst. And so, of course, let's put our hands together and welcome in Richa. So, Richa, good to have you here. You can, of course, turn on your camera. And in a moment, Richa will be with us. There we go. Richa, welcome. Good to have you here.
Rahul, thank you for having me here.
Awesome. Thank you for making the time. And, I'm sure that as you share your story, as you share your journey, this is something that is not only going to inspire people, but it's going to remind people, especially people like us who are healers and coaches, that there's a reason why we're doing what we're doing. Maybe we knew it, since birth, or maybe we discovered this along the way, but there's a reason why they're getting to hear your story today. So I'm really looking forward to getting to know. And this is, as I've said this before, and I'll say it again, it's like an opportunity for me to get to know some really amazing people. And for me today, it's an opportunity to get to know you better. So maybe we'll start at the top. And if I was to say, so Richa, what do you do?
Uh, Basically, I'm a life coach
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a chakra healer.
Mm-hmm.
So I help people heal themselves in a very holistic way with different modalities.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be a very fun therapy sessions that I hold. You would not feel that you are somewhere healing yourself while practicing each modality. The practices that I do, the practices that I give you to
Mm-hmm.
practice by yourself at home
Mm-hmm.
is something that one can do at on a daily basis. They don't have to sit
Right.
down or anything while walking, while doing
Oh,
their
nice.
household chores, while driving.
Wow.
They can just they can practice and they can heal themselves.
Amazing.
So I
Amazing.
feel that it is very important in one's life to know how to self heal
Beautiful. I'm
because
so tempted to go down this, as they call it, the rabbit hole. I'm like so tempted to ask you more questions, but I'm going to pause for a moment. And when the way you speak right now, I know that there's a lot that's gone on for you to get to this point, and so I'd love for you to share in your words and take us on a journey. Some people call it the hero's journey. But basically, it's like there was definitely a journey for you to get here, right? So if you could take us back in time to, like, when did this start? Like, what was that experience or experiences that you had along the way that led you to the decisions that you made, and then eventually it got you here. So at your own pace, if you can take us back in time to how did all of this begin?
it's a very interesting question because it's
Mm-hmm.
I would say that my journey started not from very long back, but
Mm-hmm.
somewhere it started somewhere from my childhood itself,
Mm-hmm.
without knowing that my journey has already begun.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because when I was born, I was not that a privileged child or a daughter or someone, I would say. So my parents, they had very outdated mindset, like I would say. And for them,
Mm-hmm.
how India is like, son and son and son. So I
Mm.
was kind of outraged, I would say. And so it was something when a child is being neglected from their own
Mm.
parents. The child does not understand that why, like, what did I
Right.
do?
Mm.
So without having any answers, without knowing the reason to it, what was happening and everything, I became quite docile. I became quite introvert. uh,
Mm.
Above that, I became very aggressive, I would say, because I could not understand that why is this all happening. And when this all happened, to take out my frustration, I became very aggressive. My frustration was somewhere coming out. Things kept going, I kept growing up. But then with time, when I grew up, and when I moved abroad, that's where my interesting journey started off, I would say.
Mm.
When
Mm.
I met people there, people, within fraction of seconds of meeting me, they used to come up to me and then say, they didn't know me, they didn't know my name even, and they just used to walk up and say, you have a beautiful aura. And I was like, wow, how do these people know about what aura is? Because it's not a very westernized mindset of talking about aura or the
Right.
chakras or anything like healing.
Mm.
They just believe that, oh, you have some problem, therapist is the best option, and they just walk up to them.
Mm.
So when they kept complimenting me about my beautiful aura and everything. And as I kept living there, getting to know more people,
Mm. Mm.
uh, one of my very very close friend there itself, and he just came up to me and he said, Richa, you have a gift, a very natural gift, which I would say, and you
Mm.
should take it forward. And I was like, what gift are you talking about? So he's like, you have that healing power within you, which makes people feel healed automatically, and you yourself don't know that you're healing people.
Mm.
So I was like, for a fraction of second, I was like quiet. I didn't know how
Mm.
to, like, I just went mute. I didn't know how
Mm.
to react, what to say on
Mhm.
this. And after a while, I was like, thank you, but what made you say this? And
Mm.
he told me that when we met, like when he and we met, he was going through a tough phase, which
Right.
he did not confess it to me because we had just met and everything.
Mm.
But with time, whenever we met, he said, without you knowing that I am going through something,
Mm.
the way you healed me, like,
Wow.
with your words,
Mm.
with the incidents you told me, with the examples that you gave me, it kind of
Mm.
flipped my mind. It just made me
Right.
change my way of looking at things.
Mm.
And I was like, okay. And that's the moment when I realized that, wow,
Mm.
I can help people. Like, it's not about, the first thing that crossed my mind was that I can heal people, I can help people
Right.
to heal themselves, to be a good, live a good life, basically.
Mm.
Which was interesting. Then I started helping people, I started healing them. um, and as a friendly note, like, on a very very friendly note, I started healing them as friends, as acquaintances, colleagues. Nothing like very professional or something, but it was completely on a very personal note.
Mm.
Then I got something happen in my life, and there itself I got into severe depression.
Mm.
Like severe, like where I was like, gosh, I just can't live any longer. Like, I'm just
Mm.
quitting it. But probably, I'm a very strong personality. Like, by mentally, I'm a very strong person. So somewhere down, that did not let me do so. And I just happened to outgrow that depression. I got into meditation. I studied a lot about different modalities. I studied how to meditate, yoga, different things. I started doing classes, online classes, because when you're working, you're living abroad, you hardly have time for anything else. So I started a lot of online classes, and I took a break from helping people because I felt like now is the time when I truly need the help. And when I was healing myself, I realized that it is very important for every human being to know how to heal themselves. Because going to a therapist, it's a very good thing. Everyone needs a therapist. I would say, I guess even the therapist goes to the therapist, because they also ultimately need it. uh, but I felt that it is very important for everyone to know some kind of self-healing techniques, and that's what I started working on. Then I got lucky enough to get connected with NGOs. There I helped a lot of people heal again. Because they were privileged people, they could not afford, therapists or something, and everyone was struggling. We had children, we had, single mothers coming there. They didn't know what to do, so I started helping them. Started life coaching them in terms of like how they could, start a new life, and getting the best out of what already exists in them, which was very important, because everyone have traits, which is there. You have your strengths, you have your weaknesses, but if you keep looking at your weakness, you can never grow. It's important to look
Right.
into your own strengths.
Mm,
Weakness, yes, you should not be ignoring them, but it's important to not let your weakness overtake your strengths. And that's where I
mm,
help those people to look into the better picture, to see that what strengths they have and how they can accumulate them to
mm,
make their life much more better.
mm,
So I started doing a lot of therapy sessions, which was through arts,
mm,
and they really enjoyed, because
mm,
it was fun. It
mm,
was, they did not feel that somewhere they were healing or they were doing some therapy. It was basically like just an art therapy that I was doing with them.
mm,
So it was fun because they were playing with colors, they were playing with different materials, they were playing with different techniques, and how those different techniques, different colors, and different textures change their mindset, their outlook to look at things, and,
mm,
and their own self, importantly. So I
mm,
really enjoyed that. Then I had to move back to India because my father was
mm,
very sick. And ultimately, my father did not survive and he gave up on life.
mm,
So I could hardly
mm,
get very, little time to spend with him in his last days. So, as I said, that, I was already going through depression. I was helping people, but moving back again was a more of a mental and emotional torture on me, because I was happy where I was. Moving back was not something that I had planned or I had thought about. But as my father was sick, things were going on. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll move back. But then
mm,
my father ultimately lost him. So that was again, an emotional trauma on me. But then I started working again on myself. And in the meantime, as I said, that where I was helping people to look into their strengths, I started
mm.
looking into my own strengths. And I realized that I am born to help people. That's my life path. I
Right.
have to gather that strength. I have to be strong enough to help people, because I realized that, when I was helping people, I was somewhere healing myself.
Mm,
So I
right.
to heal myself, I need to heal people. I need to help them heal themselves. So
Mm,
that's how my journey all started.
right. Wow. Wow. It definitely sounds like a long but very, very powerful journey that you've been on. And, thank you for sharing that. And thank you for sharing how, you know, there were these key moments in your life that shaped you, and you literally, maybe not initially consciously, but eventually you kind of started to read the signs, and then you just said,
Absolutely.
okay, you know, if this is what I'm meant to be doing, then this is what I'm meant to be doing. And of
Yes, but
course,
again,
got.
I would say that, as I said earlier, that it was my
Mhm.
friend in Europe
Mm,
who kind of told me that I have that, and
mm,
if I would have ignored that, I would have not been here, and I might
yeah,
be struggling more because I was not
correct.
taking the what my life path was supposed to be and
Mm,
supposed to be.
mm, right. Got it. Beautiful. So, so the way I look at it, we have a couple of journeys. One is the journey of healing, which you've shared with us how, you've kind of had these experiences, and sometimes life itself can um, guide our attention. And then, of course, eventually we get to a point of having, right? Having maybe a new identity, being more of who we are today. There's another journey, very interestingly, that I like to call the journey of coaching. When I say journey of coaching, whether you're a coach or a healer, and that's why I call myself a healer coach, because I believe we are a combination of both, right? There's some amount of coaching that we do, there's some
True.
amount of healing that we do for people that we work with. And this is regardless of what kind of, let's say, field that we've chosen, right? Whether we are like out and out, no, I'm a healer, or maybe even if someone is teaching financial literacy, right? Ultimately, every coach is a healer, and ultimately every healer will do a fair bit of coaching as well, right? That's
Yes.
my sort of perspective, or my philosophy on this kind of work.
Yes.
So the second journey is the journey of coaching, right? Keeping this context in mind. So can you take us through what was that for you, from people telling you, hey, you have a really beautiful aura, you have a very powerful aura, right? To you realizing that, and your friend also pointing it out, and where unconsciously you were, you know, being there to support him in his healing journey. Um, But when you started to recognize this, and then you mentioned you did a couple of courses and things like that. So if you can walk us through that journey of from the unknown to the known, and then where you started to learn more of these processes, like what were some of those? The reason why I'm asking you this is because our audience, people who watch this, are primarily coaches and healers, right? And I know that hearing your journey is definitely going to not only inspire them, but it's also going to remind them that they are not the only ones who, uh, you know, at times felt compelled to carry on, even though maybe situations around were saying, stop, why are you doing this? Haven't you done enough courses? I'm sure these are some of the things that, we hear on the journey. So I'd love to hear what was your story? What was your journey when we talk about uh, your coaching, your journey of coaching?
Well, it all started from, as I said, that when I went into depression and when I
Mm,
started healing myself. So I started reading all about Reiki, chakras,
mm.
meditations. So
Do you
my
remember,
journey
just to pause you
started.
there, Richard, do you remember how that caught your attention? Like what you could have chosen any, but that modality caught your attention. What was the
That's
story
what
behind
I'm
that?
I'm getting there. Is that like
Okay,
I'm a learner.
right.
I like to learn different things. It doesn't matter
Mm-hmm.
whether it's needed or not. But if something
Mm-hmm.
interests me, I'll just go through it.
Mm,
And I was on Google. I was working, so I just got drained out.
mm,
Because I was
right.
overworking and I was going through depression, so
Mm,
I needed a break.
mm,
So while taking a break, I would just on the Google, and I don't know what happened, but I was typing something, and then came was the
mm, Mm. 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 Right. Mm. 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 Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. Right. Mm. Mm. Right. Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Right. 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 Wow. Mm. 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 Right. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. 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 Right. Mm. Mm-hmm. Right. Sure. Mm. Right. Yeah. Makes perfect sense. Mm. 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 Wow. Mm, 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 What's that? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Wow. Mm, wow. Mm, mm, nice. Mm, 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 mm. Right. Mm, nice. Amazing. Really sounds like you've gone deep into the the force field of healing with the intention of not only healing but to heal others, to help others. So I'm sure, people have some really, really. Mhm. Yes, exactly. Yeah, very true. So let me ask you this, Richa. So at this point, when you work with people, and I'm saying this also because, part of the coaching journey is after COVID, especially, right? There's a lot that has changed in terms of people's understanding of whether it's healing, whether it's seeking help. Mental health is something which today, when you say mental health, people at least have an idea about it, versus pre-COVID, not so much, right? So, what have your it's like now when you do the work that you do, how do you typically do it? Is it only in groups? Is it only one-on-ones, or do you have like some kind of processes or sessions that you run? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. Right. Mm. Got it. Mm. Mm. Right. Mm. Mm. Mm, right. Mm, 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 mm. Right. Awesome. So, just before we got started, we were already, I think about 10 minutes already into the pod even before we recorded it. But just to sort of, take a leaf out of that conversation, if I may, I was telling you a little bit about, I was at this conference. It was like basically it's a space for healers and coaches to meet, and I go, pretty much every 6 months. And I had a really massive discovery, a breakthrough as well, now almost 2.5, 3 years ago, where the one thing I realized was that I hadn't really thought about is the concept of community. Right? Community is something that, and I didn't realize it at the time, but my dad was someone who was very, very big on community. He was in the army, and he was somebody who was literally like, what that expression of being a leader of men. He was that pretty much through his entire life. And of course, I was 10 when he passed away. So there are certain stories that you don't really uncover until much later in life. And so for me, in that moment, I had this revelation that um, I've also been doing that, like especially in my teen years, in college. As a friend of mine would say, it's like you are the glue that keeps us together, right? And I was sort of like the ringleader, if you want to call it that. I didn't realize it at the time, but this was basically a preparation for building community. And I'd love to get to know your thoughts and your perspective, maybe even your philosophy on community, especially today, because more and more this work that we're doing, we no longer are doing it in silence. We're no longer doing it in isolation, where it's like people don't want to talk about going to therapy. A lot has changed in the world, and people are open to the idea of being in a community and sharing openly in a group. So I'd love to hear, what's your perspective on building communities. Hmm. Hmm. Correct. 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 Yeah. True. Hmm. Hmm. Wow. Oh wow. Hmm. Nice. Hmm. Wow. Hmm. Right. Wow. Hmm. 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 True. 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 And how do you see that sort of extending into now that you're based here? How do you see that experience that you had now close to about 5 years ago? How do you see that translating in the work that you're doing today in terms of building community? Mm, 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 mm. Yeah, true. Mm, right. Mm, right. Mm, mm, true. Mm, mm. Amazing. So another very important question, and this is something that I didn't pick up on. So we've done more than 60 episodes at this point, right? And for the first maybe at least 20, 25, maybe even 30, it didn't strike me that this is actually a very important question, which is, so one is you shared your journey of coaching, which means you came across different courses, and then you literally did your curation where you went to different, maybe it was like a free session or something like that, like a drop-in class, a trial class, just to get a sense of who's who do you resonate with, who do you not, so on and so forth, right? So this segment is more to do with what I call the journey of mentors, right? So basically, people that you met on your journey, it may be from way back, or maybe in this process of becoming a healer and a coach. Um, who would you say are your mentors? People who came across your path, or you came across their path, and I'm sure it would not just been one. You'd have met a few at least. So if you could share this, and the reason I'm also asking you this is because sometimes, for maybe it's a healer or coach who's watching this, or maybe it's someone who is on that journey of healing, and when they hear you mention somebody, this can send them on a different trajectory. I know I had that many many years ago, right? I'm talking the years of Mind Valley before it became the big name that it is today. And Vishen Lakiani happened to mention his mentor, who he had met 8 years before, right? So it must have been 2010, because I saw this webinar in 2018, right? The funny thing is, I never, I didn't join too many of Vishen's courses, but what he mentioned and sharing his mentor's name and the mentor's program, that led me on this journey which I've been on now for the last 6 years, right? So you never know what you share and how it can change somebody else's trajectory. So when you kind of reflect on, and of course it's an opportunity to express gratitude for the people who have been instrumental in your transformation. So who are some of these people and names that come to mind, like, yeah, this person came in and he did this or she did that, and that shaped my life. Hmm. 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 Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. 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 Right. Mm. 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 Mm, mm, mm. And in the courses, are there any names that come to mind? Like, like, yeah, I did this course and this person, their program kind of like shaped my thinking. Mm-hmm. Mm, right. Mm, got it. Got it. Got it. Mm, yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. Yeah. Wow. Mm. Right. Mm, mm, got it. Nice. Amazing. Amazing. So one more very important question, and this is something I stumbled into recently, which is basically it's like, is there a question that you wish I would have asked you? What and I must give credit where credit is due. So there's this person called Stephen Bartlett who runs this very, very popular pod called Diary of a CEO, right? DOAC. So I've watched most of his podcasts over maybe the last couple of years. And recently I was watching a pod and I heard him mention this question and just kind of like stuck in my mind. I said, that's such a powerful question because the pod is obviously something that, the person who's showing up, who they are, the conversations that kind of shapes the pod. But also there is this important question, which is maybe there was a question that you wish I had asked. What would that be, Richa? Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah. So thank you for asking that or reminding me. So of course we have already shared your links, so that'll be added to um, this pod is available on LinkedIn. So just under the pod, there'll be like a write up about you and where people can connect with you. So that's already like pre baked in. Same thing with YouTube. That's already set. That's why one of the things that we do before we get started is we get your not only your profile but also your photograph and your if you have some sort of like a like there are apps that have like a all-in-one, so your Insta, your YouTube, all of that, like um, curated into one app so that people just click on that link and then that, like I use Linktree, right? So like this, there are many apps out there that sort of are like all-in-one. Yeah. And I'm just saying this reason why I also prefer, like I use Linktree, so I'm talking about Linktree, but it's basically it's like even if 2 years later someone happens to see this and they click on that link, provided you're still using that app, um, even if you've changed the, let's say maybe you're running a program which you weren't running 2 years ago, that one link will take them to your latest offerings. So that's a beautiful way to ensure that whenever someone finds you, right? Because we don't know when people will find this content, right? So that's exactly right. So my intention is that whenever they find you, there is a link to what you're doing, your latest offering, And in fact, yeah, while we're talking about that, is there any, maybe a program, maybe a book, maybe anything that you're currently driving that you'd want more people to know about? Is there anything like that that comes to mind for you that you want to share, that people can come and, experience with you? Mm-hmm. Your program. So, is there a program at this point that you're running that you would love for people to come and experience and get to connect with you? Mm, mm, right. Mm, got it. Got it. True, true, true. Mm, right. Mm, 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 right. Mm, right. Mm, mm, mm. Got it. Got it. Beautiful. So, right. Nice. Mm, beautiful. Beautiful. Mm, right. Right. Awesome. So, one, I must say it's been a pleasure, listening to you, to hearing your story and how, you got to this point in your life and the things that you're doing, the changes that you're, bringing in other people's lives, and of course, what you're looking forward to in the future. And as I said, the intention of this pod is to get more people to get to know you, get to connect with you. And so, in the coming days, when there are people who say, okay, it's like, I like Richa, I want to know more about her, like, what's her story? This becomes another resource for them to get to know you better, to connect with you better. And so, thank you for sharing. And I'm sure there'll be many more milestones in your future. Um, whether you continue here, whether you travel abroad, wherever it is, or maybe both, may you receive all those. Exactly, exactly, right. So may you receive many more of these blessings from people who are drawn to you and your energy and what you can do for them. So thank you so much for taking the time to share your story, Richa, and of course for people who are watching this, obviously you've connected with Richa's story. That's why you're here listening to her. And so, you know how you can reach out to her. And there's obviously something very special about it. That's why you're here watching Richa and her story, and you've connected with her. So, wishing you the very, very best, and may you benefit from what Richa has to offer. So, of course, before we go, just a reminder as always that remember to live your purpose. And Richa, once again, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your story. And may you continue to live your purpose. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So before we go, of course, Richa, while I just go around to the apps and I turn them off, thank you once again. And with that, of course, we are closing our YouTube stream. And wishing you once again, Richa, all the very best. And before we go, of course, just a reminder that we will be back with more podcasts. We do this on an ongoing basis. We're constantly looking for some really amazing guests, people who have very powerful stories to share, to inspire you, especially if you're a healer coach. So keep looking out. And of course, if you haven't already, depending on where you're consuming this, do follow us, do do the things that each app asks you to do, whether it is, ring that bell icon or uh, uh, follow or like or subscribe, whatever each app asks you to do that so that you get to stay connected and you know about our upcoming podcast. So, wishing, of course, all the very best. God bless. Until the next one. Take care. Bye bye. Thank you. Thank you, Richa. Hang on. Thank you so much. Hang on for a second while I just close this app.